live the life beyond the boundaries we set on ourselves, to live and to run boundless, to be inspired, to achieve, to overcome the mountaintop in our life. Embrace the journey, become boundless.
Okay. Hello, family. Welcome to another episode of the Live Run Boundless Show. I'm your host, Kenneth Pinckney, and my guest co-host, who's no stranger to this show, is the Wolfpack, Shopping Wood, H-Raw 619, Mr. Hector Rodriguez. I'm glad, thank you for being on and being my guest co-host. And so saying that, today's guests are two gentlemen who have put into miles as ultra endurance athletes. They're not only put into miles to test their limits or break records, but both of them put their body, their mind, and soul to bring awareness to things that are important to them in a way to inspire others and make it what seemed impossible become possible. Some of the major accomplishments the past few years, they compete in ultra marathons event, going past 200 and sometimes 300 miles. The creators of Endurance Project, which includes Tahoe 300 Project, if I say that right.
Yeah.
The Utah Broad 300 Project, and the Triple Crowns of 200 champion and record holder. And I think not too long ago, the Colorado Trail FKT, or the fastest known time, that really got my attention. That was crazy itself, but no. But also both of them support one another as crew chief, crew members. They are motivation speakers, coaches. But the most important accomplishment, they are father and husbands. So that's great. So Live Run Boundless family. Let's welcome Mr. Ben Light, or Ultralight 007, and Mr. Mike McKnight, the Low Carb Runner.
Low carb.
Yeah. So first, how both of y'all doing, and how is life in Utah?
Awesome.
Yeah, doing good. Yeah, things are good.
Yeah, I'll kick this off. I watched your guys' documentary, Broken to Breaking. First, I'll say is I freaking loved it. And one of the things that really stood out to me in that documentary, as well as kind of being able to be around you guys in person, is your guys' friendship, the bond you guys have. And I don't think I've asked either one of you guys this, so I would love to hear it, on this platform. How did you guys meet? How did you guys become so close? Because it definitely shows, in these different events you're doing and in the documentary. And I'll go to you first, Ben.
Well, so Mike, we met. I mean, just to be, we didn't realize it, but we met about a year before our real meeting. Our real meeting was at the Bigfoot 200 for the Triple Crown. Yeah. The 2017 Triple Crown. And
okay,
Mike was my athlete manager for Ultra, and I'm on the red team.
Nice.
And I was already signed up for the Triple Crown. He was signed up for just Bigfoot, and we went to dinner right after the check-in and kind of talked strategy and stuff like that. That was kind of like the first initial. But we actually met a year before at the Bear, right after I finished the Tahoe 200 for my second time.
Yes.
And I just happened to give him and his cousin a ride from an aid station down to their car. And we got on the topic of the Tahoe 200 that I just got back from. And I think that was the first time Mike heard about a 200 miler and instantly wanted to sign up. So it's kind of like,
is that about right?
I don't remember wanting to instantly sign up. Yeah, I think I blocked, I obviously remember meeting Ben at the Bear, I remember him giving me a ride. I don't remember my interest in the Tahoe 200. But yeah, that's about right. We met at the Bear and then pieced that together just like a year ago, I think, maybe 2 years ago. But yeah, the first time we actually started interacting with each other was at the Triple Crown in 2017. Biggest thing I remember is that Ben, you know, first time meeting, and like he was just all about giving me advice. That like, you know, that wasn't something I really had seen much in races that I had done. Somebody just giving me all the advice that I needed to be successful at my first 200. And then we ended up probably running the final 50 to 70. Oh, I thought it was like 50, maybe. Yeah, we spent
right after Click Attack, so it would have been like about the last 25 plus miles, maybe 30 miles together.
Yeah, we finished together. We, like, you know, aside from holding hands and walking across, we finished as close together as we could.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've become really good friends ever since.
Yeah, it kind of feels like almost maybe like older brother, younger brother kind of thing from watching the documentary. Like you definitely, you know, went out of your way and did everything you could to make sure Mike was good out on the trail for that. So I thought that was super awesome. I even, you know, I probably shot you guys both a note of just like how cool that was to see. So
if you see,
that's awesome to kind of get that backstory.
If you watch Mike's documentary that Ultra did on his first Triple Crown, I'm actually, you know, like you can actually see there's actually a lot of footage of us together at Bigfoot, and you can actually see the interaction that we had so that everybody understands when they say we finished together. Mike is definitely is a lot faster than I am, but he was still trying to figure out his nutrition at the time. But it was a lot of fun because I felt bad for him because I was like, I'd be running and I mean, honestly, Bigfoot, that Bigfoot 200 was probably one of my best overall trail races without any type of blisters or muscle ailments or knee or throwing up or something. It was like the perfect race, you know. It was just like a fun, wild ride. And but Mike would be like, I'd come into the aid station, he was sick and just not feeling well, and we just try to problem solve. And then I'm like, okay, man, just hang in there, you know, just go to the next one. And I'll be out running, and he'll be like passing me, and then I'll get to the next aid station, he's there, like sick, not feeling good. And I'll be like, you just encourage him to keep going, figuring it'll work itself out. And then I'd run out of the aid station, like halfway to the other one, he's passing me. So it was like leapfrogging each other, but he's miserable, sick, can't keep anything down, but still passing me on the trail.
Wow, that's amazing.
Superpower right there. That's awesome.
I love it. Right.
So the last time I think I got to see you guys both in person was at Cocodona 250. So I'm curious to kind of hear your guys' thoughts on what did you guys do to kind of prepare for that race? How did it play out to maybe how you thought it was in comparison to some of the other 200 plus mile challenges? And then are you guys planning to go back? So maybe I'll go to Mike on this one first.
Yeah, I am planning to go back. I've already signed up for next year. I've rearranged some of my plans next year just so I can go back to that. And I've even told Jamil, like, please don't change the course because I want to finish the original.
What did he say to that? Did he respond?
He didn't so yeah, I'm going back to it for sure. And I've changed a lot of, like, we've talked about this a few times, Hector. Just my strategy on like trying to go as light as I can in terms of not carrying enough water, and like I've just changed a lot of my mental viewpoints on some things, and I'm going to be more prepared next year. But you know, I going into the Cocodona 250, it was my 7th 200, but you know, it was after the Brawl and it was after the Colorado Trail, so you know, 8 200+ mile distances leading into Cocodona. I felt super confident about the distance. But I wasn't confident about the heat. I'm up in northern Utah, and there was literally a snowstorm like 4 days before I left to go to Cocodona.
Wow.
So, I'm up here, like I was like heat training. I had multiple layers, but like even with my multiple layers, like it wasn't that bad because it was like 30 to 40 degrees.
Yeah.
But yeah, then got to Cocodona and it was high 80s, mid 90s, something like that. But yeah, that, a lot of people who follow me know I like to like go as light as possible on like nutrition, specifically. Like I like relying on my fat storage and just kind of messing around with that. And so I foolishly, around mile 10 of that race, there's a 23-mile section between aid and there's a really big climb. And when I got to that aid station, it was kind of deceiving because it was down in a canyon. There was shade, and I was like looking around, and I was like, I don't know where this course is going, but it doesn't look like there's 8,000 feet of climbing possible.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of foolishly left with not enough water. I ran out probably 2.5 hours before the next aid station. It was hot and exposed, and just got to the well, took my body to the well, and just got super behind and peeing brown, peeing blood, showing signs of heat stroke. And unfortunately, I had to call it at like mile 130, 140. So yeah, it didn't go as good as I wanted to, but a lot of it was my own mistake. So next year I'm going to definitely carry more water. I hate bladders, but I'm gonna have a bladder for that section, and I'm gonna full of ice and just let it cool and melt my back and just like drink cold water as it's melting. And then I'm also gonna I have the opportunity of working remotely with my job.
Nice.
So I'm gonna go to Arizona probably 2 weeks or so before the race and get a little more
acclimate.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my race.
Awesome. How about yours, Ben?
Yeah. So I went into Cocodona probably feeling my fittest. I was actually I had high expectations for myself, and I got humbled really fast. But I had really high expectations, and I hit that same section, and I actually thought I was being more prepared. I use more water than other people just because I sweat more and stuff like that.
Yes.
And so I went into that section with about 4 liters of easy 4 liters of water, and still ran out with at least 7 miles to go. I mean, it was just so hot. You didn't realize how much you were consuming. And I was trying to be super smart. Me and Taylor Spike were kind of near each other, and we started to I came around a corner and saw him sitting in the shade, and I was like, that's the smartest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, 250 miles, you got plenty of time. There's plenty of time and stuff like that. And the last thing you want to do is just overwork yourself on a 20-mile section when you got so many more miles and days ahead of you.
Yeah, that's great advice.
And I took advantage of sitting down in shade when I could. Towards the end, once my bladder ran out and I was just down to my 2 water bottles, I could actually measure how much water I had, and so I had to ration. And even rationing, you started getting leg cramps because of your electrolyte imbalance, and I found myself, like, me and another racer. Oh my gosh. We found one of the springs that were on the map, and it's dried up, but it was wet and muddy, and it was nice and cool, and there was shaded, and it was like you could feel the thermal difference just because of the underwater water.
Yeah.
This is how desperate you are when you're so far out of water. We crawled up into the trees, and we started digging a hole to make a puddle of mud water, just so because it was seeping up from this this spring.
Yeah.
And he had his Be-Free filter, and we were like filling it up with just pure black, brown mud water, putting the top on and squeezing out, and it came out clean until the filter clogged. So
I don't know if we're gonna scare people of 200s or what.
it's like
Yeah.
when you're in a training run and you're like, because I mean it's only that's only the first like 30 miles of, it's like a 50K to the second aid station, and you're just like, you hit that such a low point, and you're like, it's interesting how like the things that you do and the decisions that you make and stuff like that, and let alone like we didn't know, but just a mile and a half past that, the amount of time that we spent trying to get that water, there's a mile and a half up. They had hiked in water up to the summit and was giving people water. And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Like,
that's hilarious.
Like, if I would have known this, I would have kept going. There's so many things you hindsight. If I would have known this, I would have kept going. But, going into a course that you didn't know and stuff like that. But I actually, once I got to the aid station up there, got refilled, I actually chugged a ton of liquids, and then I actually filled up on some ginger ale. I wanted the sugar from the ginger ale, and it was divine. I actually drank ginger ale all the way from aid station 2 to aid station 3. And Hector, you saw me come in. I was feeling amazing. I felt great. My muscles felt great, and I did a fairly casual change there in I forgot the name of the aid station, but
Crown King.
Yeah, Crown King. Yeah. And so, but I was like, all right, let's make this up. And I ran out of there, and I actually ran most of the uphill. Like it's uphill coming out of Crown King. You go up over the pass on that dirt road, and then the downhill's beautiful. It's just like nice, graded. It was just fast. We were cruising. I was having a conversation with another racer and everything like that. And towards the bottom, all of a sudden I felt this little discomfort down in the nether regions. And then all of a sudden this nice warm burn and tore open a testicular hernia.
Oh my goodness. Oh my.
I felt like literally the feeling, what it was is like not being kicked in the balls. It's like after you've been kicked in the balls and that ache. And so, like, am I going to throw up or am I going to poop my pants because it hurts so bad?
Man, that's rough.
I walked it into the next aid station and had to call it with the situation. And so it was short-lived. I mean, and yes, I'm planning on going back next year, and I got big expectations for myself.
Awesome, I love it.
I'll sleep on the floor in whatever room Mike gets, so that we can acclimate to the.
Well, I got a question to kind of piggyback off of that, because I think in ultra running, it's almost normal, sometimes, or in every race, like even Cocodona, I think, what was it, 50% DNF rate? I've DNF'd. I think there's tons of people in the sport who have DNF. So I want to maybe go back to Mike first. Like, what is your kind of thoughts on failure? How do you handle it? Like, what advice would you have with that?
I don't do great with failure. I have a lot of expectations for myself, and I'm kind of a perfectionist.
Okay.
So yeah, that DNF was definitely really hard for me, and it was hard for a few weeks. I ended up doing a 100-miler roughly 4 weeks after that DNF, and my coach and don't listen to this part, Hector. But
I'm out in my back pocket already by some of the things you've been doing, so don't worry. They're safe.
My coach was kind of against me doing that race, and so to take a back step, when I dropped at Cocodona, I don't know if you've heard of Luke Nelson, aside from, you, Hector. I mentioned that name to you, but I don't know if you've heard of him, Kenneth, but
Oh,
he is a pretty accomplished ultra runner here in the
okay.
States. He's done a lot of big stuff. He's sponsored by Patagonia and La Sportiva, but
Okay.
he's also he's either a physician or a physician's assistant. But he ended up calling me at the aid station where I dropped and asked a bunch of questions and basically gave me his professional advice that I should drop and go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And so that's what I ended up doing. And the 100 miler that I did a few weeks after Cocodona was a race that he put on. And he was very, very reserved and hesitant about letting me do it. But, I essentially convinced him by, letting him know that I'm a big boy and I and myself. So yeah, so to go back to the original question, I had to get across the finish line. Like I had to show myself, like that was a hot 100. I do suck in the heat historically. So I just had to like get across the finish line and show myself that I could handle a hot race. So I don't do well with it, but at the same time, like, going back to what I said earlier, like when I'm going to go back next year, there's things that I am taking from that failure that I'm going to learn to be successful at it next year. So, like my mindset when I left that aid station at Cocodona was, I don't want to carry a bunch of weight. I want to be light and fast. And then I ended up going so slow, like I had to I probably crawled into 5 or 6 little cactus caverns, like to get a little bit of shade on my face, and took 5-minute naps in those sections. And I was just crawling because of how thirsty and depleted I was. And like in retrospect, it's like, if I had enough water, I wouldn't have been that bad. So yeah, failure sucks and it's hard. I think the majority of us ultra runners are perfectionists at heart and have a little bit of some kind of addiction, and that's what we're feeding it.
Yeah, I think what you're saying though that I'm hearing that I really like is that you're learning, and you really did a deep dive and an assessment of what didn't go right, and seems like you're going to iterate your plan of attack, and you're going back next year to get it in the bag.
Yeah, and like even right now too, like in my training, like I do like Monday through Friday, I'm usually an hour and a half to 2 hours of my runs. Saturday is my long run and it's 4 to 6 hours. But usually on my Monday to Friday runs, like I go without anything, no calories, no water. Like in my mind, it's just like an hour and a half to 2 hours, no matter how hot it is, I'm going to be fine. But like, even like after that, like I've been taking like one little handheld with me, like my whole perception of like staying hydrated in the heat has changed quite a bit from that experience.
Awesome. That's a great learning experience, and I love that. That's what failure will do sometimes. Ben, how about you?
Well, that's what I was going to kind of piggyback on is just reiterate that I have a handful of different races that I've DNF'd, and most all of them are from, if not all of them are from injury of some sort. But what I've noticed in my training and in my mindset and in my I guess my experience is every time that I've come to that where I've not completed something, it's been the time that I've come out of it and grown the most, changed the most, more determined, a fire lit underneath me. And so sometimes with the right mindset, you're gonna beat yourself up. You're gonna, after you've made that decision and you feel it's the right decision, no matter if it's always the right, whatever the decision was. In the next day or two, you're just going to be like, what if I would have done this? If I would have done this, and once that, I think that's perfectly natural. But the most important thing is going, okay, what am I going to do about it now? Whether it was the heat, whether it was nutrition, whether it was a physical, like your knee, your hip, your ankle, your Achilles, whatever it was. Well, the reason why that happened is because of a imbalance of some sort with your recovery, with basically rolling out, or your training, or with the heat, how you approached it, and then also with your nutrition. And if you don't take that time to analyze and assess and then apply, learn, like trying new things out and stuff like that, you're not going to necessarily grow if you just go like, maybe I'm just not made for this. Maybe it's just not my sport. A lot of people you hear like, I'm not made to run. Like, you must be like a runner because you ran 200 or something. Yeah. I'm like, it's just 200 miles of problem solving. That's all it is. It's just like you're continuously, and it's continuously something different every 5 miles. It's like all of a sudden now it's this and now it's that. And you're just like, you're learning as you go. And so if people, and you look at the Western states, look at just this last week, Western states, and you look at the elites up in the front, that races go sideways. I mean, with all the training, with all the knowledge, and it's a lesson to not give up, because if you look at people that were back maybe out of the top 10, and if they would have been like, oh, I'm not in the top 10, there's no real hope and stuff like that, and just the littlest thing, but you never know what's going to happen. How many people dropped the last 20 miles or the last 50 miles? And so there's a lesson from that to learn that, to keep going and to not give up. But then there's also a lesson that if you run into a situation that's going to cause you a long-term, or your recovery is going to be longer than it should, or even, maybe even permanent damage, there's a time to be responsible and make those assessments. It's basically an assessment and stuff like that. And that's the cool thing about 100 milers, like ultras, whatever distance up to 200 miles and FKTs, is that it's, it all comes, there's so many factors involved, and it's a learning experience. And, one day the stars will align and you'll feel great, just like my Bigfoot 200 of 2017. And then sometimes things go sideways, like my Cocodona. When I was trained up the most, I thought I had the highest expectations. I was, I wanted it, and things go sideways. And so it's everybody gets knocked down. It's when you get back up, what you do then. That's what matters.
Yes.
Yeah. What I'll say is, and then I'll pass it to you, Kenneth. But one of the things that you guys are kind of just reiterating in my head that I'm a big believer in is that failure is not the opposite of success. It's a part of it. Yeah. And so I have no doubt that you both will learn from this, and you guys are going to crush it next year. So I'm excited to root for you guys.
Yes.
And you guys' 2022 Cocodona 250 challenge.
Yes, and hope I could be there, just to be the hype man like I always do. That's great, but just great life lesson. Also, the running lesson, but also life lesson. Also, I like to put both of these together. And speaking of that, learning from that, and just there are people who are going to ask, why ultra running? Why run these crazy miles y'all been doing? So why? That the question is why.
You go first, Ben.
Okay. So your why kind of changes over my ultra running experiences.
Yeah.
It's my purpose. I call it my purpose, or your why.
Yeah.
My what drives me, and it's been a different why along the way.
Yeah.
But the consistent overall theme, I think, is like growth and potential.
Okay.
And you learn within ultra running. I mean, no matter if you train in a group, or if you have a coach, or you have buddies that you go out and run with every day and stuff like that, when it comes down to it, it's up to you. I mean, it's a completely self-inhibited sport. And you learn dedication, you learn consistency, you learn there's so many different aspects of it within the training. That's when you do all the growing and stuff like that. And then the potential of the growth is like, what is possible? And I think, I think it's easy for me to look at me and Mike. And one thing I like to tell people is like, and I don't know if Mike feels the same way, but for me, I like running is not easy for me. And I hated running when I've always loved fitness. But I hated running. But what happened was I learned when I started to run to lose weight and just, to be and get cardio and all that stuff in my weight training, is that I liked the idea, like, to go just a little farther. And it was that I wonder if I could go a little farther, and I wonder if I can get over this mountain. You start to, there's an aspect of adventure, and then there's the aspect of fitness that I was able to marry together. And I started to realize I'm far more capable than I actually know. And when your perspective of what you're capable broadens and widens, it's like your peripheral vision's like this, and then all of a sudden it's like this. You're like, well, I can probably go run 500 miles, or I can go run 800 miles, or what about 2,000 miles? And there's going to be issues along the way. But what do we do to minimize those? How do we work through them? How do we prepare for them? But it's possible. It's completely possible. And so I think ultra, once you get past the physical, all of a sudden it becomes a mental training ground. It's like going to the you're physically getting fit. But running is 90% mental, 10% physical. And when you go out and run every day, it's like going to a mental gym. And it's a great place to work on yourself. And that translates in all aspects of your life. And that's what so I fall in love with how it's changed me up here and physically. And it's opened so many doors in my perspective. That's my long answer. Sorry.
I love no, that's great. I can really understand that. I learned that over the short years I've been running, I mean, now y'all level, but just, what I've been doing, and definitely, the process, of the transformation, from where I started to what I'm able to do right now. It's just awesome. So Mike.
I think Ben touched it pretty well on how I feel as well. I'm not a like, if I was to go out and try to do a 5K, 10K, or even marathon or a 50K, it's not my wheelhouse. I'm not a fast short runner, and but when it comes to like sleep deprivation and figuring out nutrition, like over the course of 2 to 7 days, like I like doing that kind of stuff, and it's just fun pushing yourself and seeing what's possible.
I mean, I saw that, the sleep deprivation, and just like not going out to sleep, like, man, that's brutal. And I mean, you gotta love it. To want to go do that all the time.
All the time.
Well, majority.
A good example of like, I've seen like Mike kind of grow from my standpoint is like, so during that Bigfoot 200, when I caught up to him, let's say it that way. When I caught up to him, towards the end, we ran together. I said, "Hey, Mike, I got this idea." And I kind of like, while we were running the Bigfoot 200, I'm like explaining him about my Wasatch Tahoe 300 that I just thought of while I was running. I was like, I really want to run Wasatch, but it lands on the same day as the Tahoe 200. And then I started doing all the math and figuring it out. And so I'm like explaining this to Mike, and Mike's looking at me like, he's kind of, I think you might have been in the pain cave a little bit. And he's just like, you're an idiot. Like, we're running 200 miles and you're talking about doing 300 miles. Yeah.
It was actually the Tahoe 200 that you told me that.
Oh, is
That
it
was when I was
200?
having my IT band issue, so I was pretty miserable.
Oh, I thought it was Bigfoot.
No,
But,
'cause you were telling me about it because we were doing Tahoe.
Okay. And so then fast forward this last year, we just finished the Brawl
Yeah.
and it's 300 miles.
Well, yeah.
And so we did the 300 miles and Mike called, or we went on a run at Temp. Was it, you told me about it on Temp when you were like, hey, I'm thinking about, what do you think about the Colorado Trail, and I'm like, well, how far is it again? He's like, it's like 485 miles. I was like, okay, like, I think I'm going to do it like in a couple weeks. So where I'm going with this is
Yeah.
when your perspective opens up to the possibilities, because we're so worried about failure. Everybody's so worried about failure. Like it's like an identity, like all of a sudden, or it's a label. It's like, oh, if you didn't finish something, that means you're a failure. And so many people let that concept or that fear of failure hold them back from trying to push their limits. Because they're like, oh, I don't think I could do that. That's not for me. I'm not gifted like these other people, and they don't realize it's the process of the growth. And you look at Mike, and he's just like, I want to do the Triple Crown again. Yeah. And then he goes off and wins all 3 of the races.
Man.
What I want to add to what you're saying, that is also kind of just in the back of my mind that's really getting highlighted is kind of going back to the beginning. I said I can see like a bond between you two, right? And one thing that I think super awesome is that you two can bounce ideas, right? Like 99% of the people are going to go 500 miles, that's crazy. 200 miles, crazy. 300. During a 200-mile race, you're talking about a 300-mile race. Mike's talking about doing a FKT of 485 miles 3 weeks before. Like most people, that's ridiculous, right? But you guys, it's not. And it like goes to show just how important the people you're around, the support structure, and you got somebody going like, hey, you're crazy enough to do it. I'm crazy enough to support you. Let's go push our limits and let's see.
It all comes down to money.
So that too. But it's really cool to see you guys, like just push each other and have these crazy ideas and then go do it.
Oh yeah.
Like you don't see that in friendships always, to find somebody as equally as wild.
I know.
You guys each other.
To play off of that though, like Ben was just saying, in 2017, we didn't have that because he shared that with me, and I did think he was crazy, and I did. So like, I think there is another cool thing too, where it's like, associate with people that you aspire to be like, and if you want to do crazy stuff, then hang around crazy people, and eventually you'll catch that vision.
For sure. And I can relate to that. When I first started running, my transformation, I hang around more runners. Much shout out to the YMCA South Bay trail running community, and they do some crazy runs. I like to say maybe I should do what they're doing also. And like man, I regret it at first, but no, but not really. But no, that hey man, it's great. It's great now, So yeah, I could relate. That's awesome. I was going to get to that next question about the Utah Brawl 300 project. It's on a project you have been working on, and your reason behind doing it, to want to do that.
I mean, I'll speak first to that, and then I'll let Ben take over.
Okay.
So I think it was my second. So I guess to take a back step to something Ben said earlier at the very start, I actually knew about 200-mile distances a little bit before Ben told me about it. There's a trail race, the Bear 100. It's about 15 minutes. The start's about 15 minutes from my house, and it was my first 100. And I remember when I did it, the first year I did it, there was a pretty good trail runner who did something that blew my mind, but he
Yeah.
like 3 days before the start of the bear, he ran the course backwards,
Yeah.
and then he camped out at the start for like, maybe it was like 2 days before the race, but basically he camped out for 5 hours and then he ran the race.
Mhm.
And he finished like maybe an hour after I did. So
Yeah.
I was pretty blown away at how amazing that was.
Mhm.
So kind of
Yeah.
since that point, and once I learned about the Wasatch 100, and once I learned about bigger distances,
Mhm.
more than 100, I always thought that it was possible and would be cool to connect the Bear 100 and the Wasatch 100.
Yeah.
And I guess this is going to play into the bouncing crazy ideas off of each other, but Ben
Yeah.
and I were doing a run together. And this also shows what kind of person Ben is. Like when you put something in his head,
Yeah.
like within a day, he's got something figured out. So
Oh, wow.
we were doing a run together, and we were talking because it was last year during COVID.
Yeah.
And the run we were doing was in like mid-June or something. It was basically a year ago.
Mhm.
And we were talking about projects, and I was like, well, I do
Yeah.
think it's possible to connect the Bear and the
Yeah.
Wasatch,
Yeah.
and run the Bear backwards, do something in the middle, then do the Wasatch. But I
Yeah.
haven't really figured it out yet.
Yeah.
And then like it was like that night or the next day, Ben like sent me a GPX file and he's like, dude, it's totally possible, and it's like 300 miles exactly. Let's do it next month. You want to do it? And
I love it.
that's how it started. It was
Okay.
pretty quick.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it for years, but like once I told Ben about it,
Yeah.
we put together and we did it within a month.
Oh, wow.
And then I'll let Ben talk about the rest of it, like the cause and everything, because he's
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, he doesn't realize it, and I think me reminding him a little bit might. So I have a future project that I've been like
Yeah.
brewing over, and it's called the Great Western Trail, that goes from basically Canada. It's like the AT Trail or the PCT, but it goes from Canada all the way down to Mexico, and it goes right through Utah. I mean, it's and so when he brought up the Bear and connecting the Bear and the Wasatch, I had just that week been scouting out on Cal Topo the route, and it goes right, like comes out of Tony Grove. It basically it follows the Bear course to Leland aid station, but then it basically dives off but it makes its way across the Cache Valley, through Avon Pass, and then up, the peaks, and then basically, and then I was surprised that the entire Wasatch course is part of this Great Western Trail. And so when he brought it up, I was just like, oh, it's totally possible, because I've already found that there's a route called the Great Western, and it just connects it all. And we just we put it together, and we made a few variations, from a crewing and logistics aspect. But, and then so you talked about your why. Yeah. One thing that I found when I'm pushing hard is obviously what is your why? Like why are you doing this? No matter what, when you're running 100 miles, you're going to peel away the layers of you and figure out what is making you take another step. What is going to get you out of the next aid station? Because what is going to, that's the harder road. The easy road is to tap out and quit.
Yes,
if things are just getting hard and you're just uncomfortable and stuff like that, it's just easy to tap out and quit. And I've noticed for myself when I'm pushing myself, that I have a higher purpose. There's something more, someone else, especially if it's someone else counting on me.
Yes.
And I had talked the years before with my projects. I've raised donations, and this is a really, really cool story. I got introduced to this group. So one of my sponsors was, a partnership that I had was with Costa Vida, the restaurant, and they put together a Ragnar team. And the Ragnar team was doing the Ragnar to support this company called NeuroWorks. And NeuroWorks helps individuals that suffer from a neurological injury, like a spinal injury, and helps quadriplegics, paraplegics in rehabilitation. And they don't charge you if you don't have insurance,
Oh, wow.
but they can only
Awesome.
do that through donations. And
Okay.
so these last 2 years, I raised money for their cause.
Yes.
And one of the individuals that was at Costa Vida was a triathlete,
Yeah.
and he ran with me on the team, and we got to be friends. Well,
Nice.
right before my Pyrenees project, the year before the brawl,
Uh-huh.
he was training for an Ironman, and he got hit on his bike by a car, and now he's paralyzed. So here's a guy that ran and raised money for this NeuroWorks organization, and now he's a patient of NeuroWorks, and he's a paraplegic.
Yeah.
And I went and visited him at the hospital, and right before I left for the Pyrenees, and I was raising money for NeuroWorks, and I was talking to him, and he just like, I'm still going to do my Ironman. He's like still in the hospital bed.
Wow.
He's can't even feel his bottom of his legs. And he's like, I'm still going to do it.
Yeah.
And I was so inspired by him and his determination.
Yeah.
And so over that year leading up to the brawl, I just kept following his story as a friend and stuff like that. And he was in need of a paraplegic. When they do a triathlon, they have to have 2 different bikes.
Okay.
One for the bike section, it's a hand, and you have to do the hand pedals.
Yeah.
And then the one for the run section is a run wheelchair.
Yeah.
He had just purchased the bike wheelchair, but I mean, these things are, you think a road bike is expensive. These things are just crazy expensive. And it was going to take him a long time to save up for something like that. And, you know, so I just reached out to Mike and said, hey, Mike, would you be at all opposed to maybe tying the Utah Brawl and raising money for this individual, Austin? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we tied that in. And I mean, it was very humbling to see the community, because our network is in that endurance community, the community, and that came together and raised funds enough to purchase him a racing wheelchair.
Nice.
And to then also, we partnered with a organization that trains the Paralympics.
Yes.
They're actually right here in Salt Lake, and I know the coach, and we worked out a partnership deal and paid for 2 years of private professional training for him to, you know, I mean, to have someone be able to help you and guide you through that whole process, you're going to go so much farther. I mean, having a coach is so important.
Yes, it is.
And today, I don't know if Mike, if you've been seeing, but he's already done his first sprint triathlon. He trains every day. He goes to swim. He swims. He's training at the track on his bike. He's going out and doing rides, and it's, to me, like, it's just inspiring. It blows my mind, and I just feel grateful that I had a very small part of that. And when we were in the brawl, you know, there's times that it got tough, but it's like, I don't want to. One, you don't want to let the people watching that are in being inspired down, but you don't want to let also this individual down that you're raising money for and stuff like that. And so it was, I mean, I love tying a project with a cause.
Oh yeah,
I think that's really beautiful that you guys did that for that individual, and then I really think it's super awesome that the community got behind you guys on that. Like I'm such a fan and love the endurance trail running community for those kind of things. So I've seen it, you know, countless times where, you know, people would do different things for the causes. So awesome of you guys.
And the other cool connection with that, so my wife's from Virginia, and, you know, I've been in Utah my whole life, and she just came up here for school, and that's where we met. But after we made the decision to, you know, do it for Austin, that is his name. My wife looked at him. She's like, "Oh, he looks familiar." But, you know, we come to find out that my wife grew up with his wife.
Oh, wow.
She knew about Austin, and she followed him and knew about his accident and stuff. So As soon as Austin and his wife learned about what we were doing, she was able to connect that my wife was her friend, and
Wow.
it's a cool little random connection
I
to
know.
as well.
Small world sometimes. For
Yeah,
sure.
yes, it is. That's great. I mean, definitely we touch on I talked about at the beginning, but introduction. You just you run for not only for yourself, you put your butt down for yourself, but you do it for a cause. And I like that. Like what your projects and what you're doing. And I know you got one project that coming out, working on already out, the Mighty 5 UTMP on the Utah 5 National Park. You could touch on that a little bit also.
Well, it's kind of up in the air right now.
Oh, okay. No worries.
No, it's still being planned. It's still being planned. With that hernia, hernia that I had, I just had the surgery, and I'm back to training this week. So
okay.
we're about 12 weeks out from it. So
Okay.
I do have to I'm hoping that I have enough time to rebuild, I guess you could say, my fitness.
Yeah.
But no matter what, it's going to happen. So it's going to actually be really cool. It's either going to happen this fall, or it's going to happen in the spring of next year.
Okay.
But I've created a unique trail system. Like I basically took each national park and routed a route through each of the parks that highlight that goes through each of the highlights of each of the park. And
nice.
And I'm just like, no one's ever done it. It's helped to bring awareness to our parks and to bring awareness to leaving no trace.
Okay.
And there's, if you've ever gone to the national parks, it gets really crazy busy right by the trailheads, right by the easy access.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to the park that people don't get to see, because you actually have to apply effort and basically hike in and actually experience it.
Oh yeah.
And so one of the things we want to do is capture those amazing views and encourage people to prepare themselves, go responsibly and prepare themselves, but go in and experience the park on a whole other level than just from the visitor center, or just from one of the overlooks, or just, maybe a short hike into one of the arches. But we want to encourage, we know as athletes, when you start working, it's actually encouraging to take those first baby steps into what's possible, because maybe they're at that point where they're like, I don't think I can go hike the 12-mile loop to go off and see that part of the section. But if they're inspired to do it, and they set and prepare themselves and set a plan and then go do it, they're like, wow, that was fantastic. I can do hard things. And then what else can I do? And it's the same story as me and Mike. It's like, well, what is my potential? What can I, what is my limit? And I think, and then that's when people grow and they become, more mindful of themselves and other people, because you got to become mindful of your health, mindful of rest, mindful of education. It just opens up to everything.
Okay.
So do you think that what you just kind of walked us through is kind of why we're seeing more 200s? We have obviously the Triple Crown of 200s we've talked, or Vipa just put the 250 on. It sounds like Kansas is getting ready to put one in Tucson. And those are the ones that I just know that are immediately. I'm sure other ones are brewing. All kinds of people are doing FKTs that are 200 and above. So why do you think that is getting, so popular? Do you see that continuing on, and what do you think is driving that?
You talk, Mike, because I've talked to you.
I don't like talking. I mean, I think that hits the nail with the hammer. Is that how the saying goes? I mean, everybody's seeing what's possible. I think everybody's seeing what's possible. I think everybody's realizing that these distances are funner. And just like the community, the ultra running community in whole is really awesome and pretty close knit. But I think the 200-mile community is even more awesome and close knit. And you have a group of people that are doing these 200s that like the multi-day stuff. They like the suffering.
Yeah.
And, until Cocodona just came out, like
Yeah.
here in the States, it was really just Candace's 3 races. So,
Wow.
I think people are seeing like, Cocodona, it sold out and it was its first year. The Triple Crown, not the Triple Crown, but all 3 of Candace's 200s have had wait lists. Like,
Right.
Tahoe has like close to 200 people on the wait list right now. It's like,
Man.
as the demand is increasing and people are realizing how cool it is, like we just need more races so people can satisfy their addiction.
Demand.
The addiction, yeah, see? Yeah.
That's a good word. It's about right.
Yeah.
The addiction, obsession.
Yeah, addiction, crazy, all of that.
Yep.
Well, yeah, boy, yeah, that's great, but to see more people, yeah, definitely, I'm into it, and I would have been into something like this, and so, but yeah, love it, but you wouldn't be able to do all of that without the support of your family, That's all that your film, your YouTube, the family, both your wives, but not only you have the support. Well, both of y'all wife are really involved in y'all running career and y'all now doing the ultras, So tell me, what does it mean for each of you to have support of your wife, being there, being by your side, running with y'all, being the crew chief? What does it mean for y'all to have the support of your family, of the wife?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. We both married exceptionally amazing women. There's no doubt about it. Like, I could not do what I do without her.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword though. And I don't know if Mike feels the same way, but for me, she's my carrot. I'm like, I just got to get to the aid station. Then I get to see Brittany. I'm excited to see Brittany. I get excited to see my wife. Like when I come home from work, I'm getting off work. I'm excited. I'm excited to see my wife every day.
Yeah, that's
but
awesome.
But to see her at the aid station, so I'm like, I just got to get there, and then I can be around her energy and her reassurance and just her support. Yeah. But then the double-edged sword is like, you get to the aid station, you don't want to leave the aid station because you're like, I like being around it. You got to leave. Sometimes it's hard to leave, but I mean, there's no way I can't even. I don't even like if I lost Brittany. I don't even know if I'd want to stay doing these long races. I don't know. I just because she's part of the experience. Right? It's part of the. So I wouldn't even know what it would be like almost anymore without her.
Oh, that's powerful. Oh, that's.
It's weird, like in the video that just came out on the Colorado Trail. I said a few things in there. Just like the thing that kept me going was knowing that I'd be able to see Sarah and my son. Night 3 or 4, whatever it ended up being. So I feel the same way as Ben. It's great having them as the carrot to get there, but it's hard to leave. But like those first 3 days not having Sarah there, it was super weird and just feels good. Granted, Ben's a really good.
I don't cuddle as close. It's like the spooning thing is kind of like, it just feels odd when it's with me.
He'll do it for you. That's what matters.
Yeah, you will.
But like.
So what was it like having Sarah get on the trail with you?
That
was pretty awesome scene in the movie.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yes, it was.
I feel the majority of the people who paced me at the Colorado Trail, excluding Ben, I met at the Colorado Trail and Dax. But everybody else, I had communication with through social media. A couple of the people I talked to on the phone because I coach them, but I met most of the people who paced me on the trail.
Oh wow.
So when I was with Sarah, I could be more myself and joke about stuff and it was just fun to have her there and just to be ourselves around each other and share that with her, share her personal best. That was the furthest that she ever ran at any given time. So definitely it was cool to have her there. But I just want to say too, while we're on this topic, like,
Yeah.
you know, we're all addicted to running,
Yeah.
doing these events and pushing ourselves.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just been really cool to see her progression, because I remember when
Okay.
we first got married,
Yeah.
like I had to have a sit down with her, because I was getting the sense at aid stations like she wanted me to stop so we could go home and and so like one day I was like, hey, like, you know, you married me and knew that this is my thing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't expect you to come. So if
Yeah.
you want to, like, that's
Yeah.
totally fine.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you want to come,
Yeah.
like, I can't be getting those vibes that you want me to
Yeah.
feel. So it's just been really cool to see her go from that to just like,
Yeah.
you know, anybody that you guys saw, if you saw
Yeah.
my story a few days ago, I forgot I had a race that I signed up for in a couple weeks, which I'm not going to do because it's during a family reunion on her side of the family.
Oh, wow.
When
Yeah.
I was like contemplating how to make it work, even she was just like, well, of course I'm going to come crew you. Like,
Wow.
let's make it
Yeah.
happen. And I'm
Wow.
like, this is like your family reunion. So
Yeah.
like,
No.
just seeing like how she went from, you know,
Wow.
kind of skeptical to the
I
whole
know.
scenario to just being fully involved as much as I am. It's really cool
Yeah.
and awesome to see.
Yeah. That is amazing. That's beautiful. And that's the greatest part of this interview, just hearing about your wife, and just the support and how your wife changed for the beginning to which you're at right now. That's amazing.
And
Skip up.
oh, I was gonna say, I do want to say one other thing too. Like, I
Yeah.
have some friends that I run with, and
Yeah.
like their wives are not as on board.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can tell that like they're hesitant about them even doing daily runs. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so like just seeing how that doesn't necessarily help them with their goals. Like, obviously it's not all about us.
Yeah.
It's give and take.
Yeah.
But like, it's just, you know, we wouldn't be able to do this stuff without
I know.
a supportive spouse. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It make life a whole lot easier, and see my wife come around to what I'm doing, when I first started this crazy running, and see her understanding the main reason why I do what I do, and she understanding it right now, and support me in this. It means it mean a world of difference, I know
Yeah.
Hector career probably could relate to and having to support his family.
Mm-hmm.
He's proud to be on the road with him.
I
They coming.
just to add to this,
Yeah.
I think it's super huge. I mean, there people that are going to be watching this podcast.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different journey. Everybody has
Yeah.
a different situation.
Yeah.
Regardless of their situation, this is what my bit of advice
Okay.
would be to first find balance. It doesn't do anybody any good, especially if their spouse is not on board, is to work through that with them and say, what can I do for you in order to make your life easier so that you can help me with my passion as well. Like it's not like Mike said, it's not all about us or the runner. And there is a fine balance. Just because there's a pro athlete that goes out and spends, 20 to 30 hours a week training, someone, and that's not be their full-time job. So a lot of, from a 24-hour time standpoint, the big chunk of that comes out of where you would be in your career, because it is their career. But if you have a job and you have a family and you have this passion, I would rather see someone go into their event undertrained with a balanced life within work and family. I think from a mental standpoint, when they hit the hard times in that race, they're going to do so much better, because it's going to happen. But if you're out of balance, like you're about to lose your job because you spent too much time running, or your spouse is not happy with you, your kids miss you because you're spending too much time away. When you hit that low point in that race, on that distance, my family to me is my strongest support system, my strongest why, the drive. And if things are going south, it's just going to make it that much harder to continue on and not give up. But so my advice, like what I was saying, is to be balanced, and then just be as supportive as possible to the other way. Like it's yeah.
And also to add to that, like I want to point out, it's possible to be balanced and still trained. So for example, like, you know, back when my wife wasn't as out on board, you know, I was setting my alarm as early as 4 a.m. some days. So I could get my runs done before she woke up. So I was still training. It wasn't affecting her because she was sleeping. So, you know, those, like, it was that important to me, where it's like, you know, I could have been like, okay, like, you know, this isn't as important to me, so I'll just train when I can and whatever. But like, no, it was important to me, so I made it part of my schedule. I made sure it didn't affect her, it didn't affect our marriage. You know, now fortunately I'm at a place where she's cool with it. I can go whenever, and you know, it's kind of a part of our lives now. So it's possible to be balanced and still well trained.
You got to sacrifice some stuff, I guess, here and there. That's good. That's great. I feel like I've been to a marriage class, you know, just now a few minutes, you know. No, I'm definitely, you know, thank you for that. Thank you for the input, the wisdoms, you know, to help me or other people that are going to be listening, you know, other married, you know. So it could be tough, you know, with the family and all the training, you know. So when you're not training, or you're not running, or spending time crewing somebody, what else y'all do? You know.
You go first, Ben.
I watch TV.
What's your favorite TV show to watch? No, I'm joking.
Oh man,
I just gotta make it light right now.
No, like I had this conversation just the other day. There's like, oh, you're out always exploring, and you're out in the mountains, and you're doing this. You're always doing something crazy adventure, and I'm like, yeah, what you don't see is anytime I'm home, I'm binge watching, you know, like old series of The Office, or like, I mean, it's just, I go from one extreme to the other, but my passions are fitness. Like it's either work, and I'm lucky enough to where I've generated my work in the outdoor industry. So it's, my running is kind of part of my work, even though I'm not a professional paid athlete. I do things within the marketing side of the outdoor industry. And so it's just part of my lifestyle. And because my work's part of my lifestyle, and because I train a good portion of my personal time is spent to training, I take my recovery time really seriously.
That's good. I love it.
I feel like I'm like one of the most, I've been trying to think of the word. It's not unethical, obviously, like unorthodox. Is that what I'm saying? Like, I'm not your typical ultra runner in terms of like my interests. I like, there's races where I've like tried sparking communication with people and even pacers, and like bringing it up, like, you know, you remember that time on The Office when this happened? Like, I don't watch TV, but you know, tell me all about it, kind of a thing. So, you know, I'm like, man, I like TV. I just bought myself a road bike. I love going on motorcycle rides. I love cooking. Anybody that follows me knows I like cooking meat on my smoker and making some good burgers and steaks. And then just family time. You know, going canoeing, going kayaking, going swimming, playing board games.
So that's cool.
You know, I love just being active and mobile and fun stuff with people.
Awesome. So then going back to running, and we got you two crazy guys. So what is next? Do you guys have any FKTs, any races, any big goals that you guys are planning or have already thrown out there? I'll go to you first, Mike.
Yeah. You know, the rest of my year is kind of up in the air right now. I think Ben put it best last night, and you know this too, Hector. I just re-signed up for the Triple Crown, and I know it's most likely not going to happen because I'm like 155th on the wait list at Tahoe. But you know, I
Wow.
texted Ben. I was like, "Hey, I just put my name on the triple again," and his reply back was just like, "You seem bored." It's like, you know, last year is just like one of the best years of my running
Yeah.
careers, and like
Yeah.
I come to this year and I've had a DNF, and you know I finished pretty averagely at a 100-mile race, so it's like I'm kind of like feeling antsy to do something right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I don't get into the triple, I have my eyes set on the FKT attempt on the PCT,
Ooh.
the Oregon section of the PCT.
Okay.
You know, I'll probably do that mid-August or so.
Mhm.
And then I got the Moab 240 in October that I am signed up for. But you know, the biggest thing I'm gearing up for, and I can talk about now since I announced it a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to go after the Appalachian Trail next summer. So that's
Okay.
going to kind of be the big focus these next 11 months.
So can you let us know what that consists of?
The Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
Yep. What is the miles you're going for, and how many days do you need to do it?
So I actually, this is something Ben knows about me, but I'm a terrible planner. I don't do the planning.
That's why we're good friends.
I know.
That's why
Plus one on that. I know that as well.
Yeah, you know that. So I thought, like, until this morning, actually, the FKT I was going after was 42 days, but I found out it's actually 45 days. So I have
Oh,
3
wow.
days of leeway for the one that I'm going after. But but yeah, my goal is
Okay.
to, like, Ben knows this about me too, and you might know this as well, Hector. But like, I have my one goal, which is just to get the FKT, so 44 days and 23 hours. But like
So how many miles per day is that?
it's just over 50.
Will that come to?
Just over 50.
Okay.
But, or I guess that one might be just under 50. But like
Okay.
if all the stars align correctly, like this is like my top goal. I want to do it in under 40 days. And if I were to do that, then it would just be over 50 miles a day. So yeah, I don't know if they answer your question, but that's kind of, you know,
It does.
Okay.
Is Ben crew chief again on this?
So, well, I think there's a lot that I got to figure out still, because a charity that I'm partnered up with, Racing for Orphans with Down Syndrome, that you know you're an athlete for, Hector. I'm doing all this for them. Recently, a couple weeks ago, we had a stark, like, kind of sad realization. We thought that there was maybe 100 orphans with Down syndrome that we've been trying to advocate for, but we learned that there's just over 500 that are out there that's ready to be adopted. So a big focus of this is going to be raising awareness for each individual orphan and trying to help families like answer the call to adopt those children.
Okay.
So long story short, like, you know, I'm going to be reaching out to a bunch of companies about sponsorship and teaming up with us. And part of that's going to be helping to cover the costs of, say, a crew chief like Ben, because, you know, 40 days, 40.
You got to afford Ben now.
Yeah. Especially
his
for
worth.
40 days, especially for 40 days, like,
yeah,
40.
two, what is that? That's just over is that just over a month? I can't think right now. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like just over a month to commit to come and help me daily.
know.
You know, there's got to be some kind of compensation for
Oh
something.
yeah, for 40,
Sure.
40 days, 40 nights. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and his wife, because he's not going to leave without his wife.
Oh, of course, the wife. Oh,
and it's like, I want her to be my personal, like, massage therapist for those 40 days. So, like, you know,
that kind of sounds wrong without giving context of what she does for a living.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, we just went from you love Sarah and she's supporting you to I can't wait till Ben's wife massages.
Yeah, Brittany is a wonderful massage therapist. She saved me at the Triple Crown of 200s in 2017 with her with her devilish scraping.
That's another story. That's another story for another time.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, to answer your question, I hope Ben will be there and I hope Brittany will be there, but I just got to figure out all the ways that I can compensate them to come out.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. And I love it what y'all doing, you know, and just, you know, doing for the call to bring awareness to what is needed, you know. Yeah. So
what do you got going, Ben?
Well, I mean, I have that Mighty 5 project, but I have a lot of crazy, stupid ideas.
Anything
It's-
getting closer to fruition?
I would have to say, like, it all depends. Well, with Mike doing the Appalachian next year, I'm gonna rearrange like efforts, because it's kind of like it's a 40-day thing and it lands right in the middle, and I'm sure I'll get some miles with him, but my main focus would be crew and stuff like that, and making sure logistics and stuff. But I'm sure that there's going to be opportunities to get on and run with him, but I don't expect to be at my peak performance at the end of his Appalachian attempt.
Dude, just run a section a day with me and you'll be fine. Be fine.
There's a little bit. If he could see what the back end work of his FKT at Colorado Trail, for me to get out, like when you hear about that on this documentary of like, I was really excited that I was able to actually join him on this section and feel comfortable and be able to, that the crew was going to be there at the next aid station. Like they were going to know how to get there. Like, I mean, I did all the due diligence of logistics. Everybody else showed up, but they're kind of like, you lead the way, we'll be there. We're here to help Mike, but you lead the way. So it was like one of those things where when we plan the Appalachian Trail, it's going to be like, it's going to be, super planned out, timelines, where we're going to be, everything.
Sarah will be there the whole time. I'm going to indoctrinate her so she can be you and you running.
But
there you go.
We'll see. But anyways, back to like, I do want to, I mean, I don't even mind talking about it, because if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's okay. There's two big things that eventually I would like to do. And my one big thing is the Great Western Trail. I'd like to run it from north to south, and no one's ever done it. At least I can't find anything. There's been a couple of people that have done the Great Western Loop, but the Great Western Loop doesn't consist of the actual Great Western Trail. So there's this, and
so what does that entail? And what would you be looking to do it? Like, what's the mileage per day?
Well, so just to give you some context, the Appalachian Trail from Florida, basically the corner of Florida, Georgia to Maine, is 2,180 miles. This is 4,200 miles.
Man.
So,
oh my goodness. Oh,
so it does a lot of S turning as it's going down the country, and but if looking at it, it's an amazing. It's like, hey, let's have a trail that hits every major mountain range. That's going down through. I mean, it starts in Glacier National Park. That's where you start, and then it goes down and it works its way through Idaho, down into the Sawtooths, and through the Sawtooths and into the Tetons, and then from the Tetons it goes into the Bear River Range in Utah, and then the Wasatch, and then the Uintas, and then it goes down through like Canyonlands and works its way across a couple of the parks over to Kanab, and then it's the Arizona Trail through Arizona down to the Mexican border. So it like zigs. It's stupid. Let's just say it that way. It's just stupid.
It sounds wild, but sounds
the
amazing.
Nice thing is I still say Mike has to go like, I have to have this many miles, this many days. Like if I even miss a day, I got to make it up. Like we have to have a plan B to make it up and all that stuff. Wow. He's going for an FKT. I just got to finish.
Yeah,
that's smart.
You got the FKT.
If I want to take a day off, I could take a day off.
I like that. I like that.
So that's how I look at it. That's like my biggest, hope and dream, to pull that off. It's taken, and maybe even establish that trail and stuff like that, and just raise enough money to pay Mike to come support me on that.
That's right.
That's gonna be like 100-day effort, dude.
That's why I was like, that's kind of my prospective goal. 100 days
Yeah.
from Canada to Mexico.
Yeah.
You're so funny, but you
Wow.
say you can like
Incredible.
take a day off if you want, but I gotta do it in under 100 days though.
So you
Yeah, you throw that number in there, the days off is gone.
Yeah.
but maybe I'll just raise it up to 101.
Oh, okay.
Oh man, I love it. The crazy stuff, man, was the good stuff.
What's
Hey,
harder, 100 or 101?
I don't know. What is harder? I would think 100.
Man.
That's like saying, who's suffering more, the person in the person in first
Yeah.
or the person in last?
Oh.
Yeah.
Who suffered?
That's
Who
true, I
suffered
guess.
more?
Oh.
I think the person in last.
Yeah.
He suffered longer.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, it's harder in my opinion.
Oh man. Yeah, it is a toss up, I guess. I know. But well, yeah. And your long running career, what brought you the greatest joy so far? And just doing it, ultra running and stuff. What brought you the greatest joy?
That's a deep question. Do you have your answer, Ben?
I was gonna piggyback on your answer. Ditto.
Oh, that's a deep question.
Oh, okay. Well, just not maybe the greatest, one joy, I guess. I know.
No, yeah. I'm just trying to think.
I know Mike's answer. You want me to-
You
you
do?
want me to
Okay,
answer
tell
for
us
you?
Mike's answer, Ben. Yeah,
So
we'll see if you're close.
well, I thought
How well do you know
I
Mike?
thought about my answer,
Yeah.
and it's kind of similar, but not to the extreme of Mike's answer.
Okay.
Is one, when I first started to run,
Yeah.
even running 3 miles hurt. Like, it hurt my
Yeah.
back. I've had degenerative arthritis in my lower back
Oh.
from. Crazy thing is I've never really like talked about. I mean, Mike knows about it, but I hit
Yeah.
I hit exact same jump, not the same jump, but a jump in
Yeah.
a park.
Yeah.
I compressed actually my vertebrae, but it's only
Yeah.
been degenerative arthritis. I never broke my back,
Okay.
and I've always had a hard time running
Mhm.
because of my back. Well, as I learned how to take care of my core, learned
Yeah.
how to actually run properly and not
Yeah.
like heel strike, but actually run, and then even ultra, and I'll just plug ultra because it changed my
Yeah.
my running life,
Yeah.
but it opened the door. So my greatest that of your question, my greatest like accomplishment or
Yeah.
feeling is
Yeah.
the fact that I can do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And when I thought, the doctors even told me, I went in for consultation about back surgery, and he's
Yeah.
like, it got really bad, and I get to the
Yeah.
point where I can't even get out of bed, and
Man.
just like throwing out your back, but it's just like
Yeah.
constant.
Yeah.
And they're just like, surgery, you'll never run,
Yeah.
you'll never do all these different sports that you're doing.
Mhm.
And I refuse to accept it,
Mhm.
to the point of like, well, I'm going to put it off as long as I can and just do what I can.
Yeah.
And I basically eventually figured out how to control it, and then
Mhm.
now my limits are just been opened up.
Yeah.
So that's what brings me joy, is that
Yeah.
that fact that I've overcame
Yeah.
a weakness. Now
Yeah.
that does, and so when I say that I know Mike's answer is, I look at Mike and I'm just
Yeah.
like, his story
Yeah. Yeah.
relates to me, but also it makes me look at him I know a little that what he went through,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
his was so much worse.
Yeah.
That makes me look at it as like being so much more inspired
Yeah.
that of where he's gone. And so I was just going to say the biggest accomplishment is going from broken
Yeah.
to breaking.
Mm.
And I think that contrasts the title of his
Yes.
SAT,
Yes. Yes.
I think I need to hire you to be like my
PR.
officially hire you. Yeah, I think that I don't know why I didn't even think of that. But yeah, definitely from breaking my back to like where I'm at right now, like I'm super stoked and
Mhm.
super happy that I'm
Yeah.
able to do these things. But like
Mm.
I feel like even if like I took all this away, and when I say take all of this away, I mean like
Mhm.
being able to set an FKT or like winning the individual, like winning the Triple Crown, like even taking all that away, just like the
Yeah.
fact that I'm still able to run and stuff, like that's all
Yeah.
that matters to me. And
Yeah.
going back to that day, like I still remember like the clothes I was wearing and where I was,
Wow.
how far I went, but like that day that I ran,
Yeah.
it was just half a mile, but 3 weeks after breaking my back, you know, that moment was super like relieving, and like a big weight was taken off of my shoulders. Like this isn't going to be as bad as the doctor told me it was going to be. So
Yeah.
yeah, like, you know, definitely what Ben was saying, but just even taking a back step and just like, you know, that moment, like 3 weeks, like, because when you break your back and when you have surgery and when you have a professional doctor tell you, you know, drop your college classes, like talk to your work, like you're going to be in bed for months and you're going to be lucky to run again in a year. Like being told that, like, you know, it's hard to find motivation to you know, the baby steps I took, the walking a little bit every day and then walking extra every day and then trying to see how fast I could walk. And then, you know, it's hard trying to run 3 weeks after a professional tells you that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'd say going back to that moment when I like chose to go for a little run, even when a professional told me not to, it was a pretty proud moment of mine.
Okay. Man, I can imagine, you know, like I can't imagine, I might say, you know, yeah, you went against the odds, you know, and here you are right now, you know, and I got the privilege, you know, interviewing you, also Ben, you know, so yeah, I mean, definitely.
And actually, I want to add one more thing to that.
Okay, there you go.
This is my other proudest moment. 2 weeks ago, you know, me and my family we're faith-based and we go to church every Sunday. My son, who's 4 years old, was in a nurse, we call it primary. It's like a little learning class for children. And they were all like, because this is like one of the first meetings we had in person post COVID. So like there's a lot of new faces. So all the kids are going around and they got to my son and asked what one of his favorite things to do was. And he replied like going on a run with dad. And we hadn't ran that much before that. So it kind of took me by surprise that he said that. And so like me and him have been, you know, getting out and running a little bit together. And that's been pretty awesome to see.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
One of the things that when you said before about when I was giving tips about balance and everything like that within another thing is involve your family. And let them feel like they're part of it. This is not dad's or mom's thing, but this is a family thing. And one thing that I grew up in a very like great house. You hear about all the different inspiring motivational speakers of how like the hard life they had as a kid. And I'm sitting over here going, I actually had a really good family. And like, I don't have that. Like, but one thing that I remember I had my dad. He was military, 27 years. And we had 4 boys and we were always adventuring. He was always trying to teach us and push us. And we went kicking and screaming. I just want to stay home with my friends. And I just want to but he's like taking us out and exploring and teaching us how to push our personal limits as a kid. That gives us that foundation. So now like I owe everything to my parents. And so when I got into this running, I wanted, and I've tried to involve my kids and my, you know, obviously my wife's been involved the whole time, but I tried to involve my kids where my kids coming out to my events or when I'm going to volunteer at an event, I take my kids with me so that they can help them volunteer. And it's been, and looking back on it, it's been the most gratifying times is, and now my son at 13 years old, he's starting to run himself. Both my girls did cross country. I never made them. They just felt inclined to do it. And they enjoy fitness like that. And so I guess another proud moment, just like Mike says, when he's bringing up his family is seeing the positive effect that bringing our family in as it being a family oriented activity that, you know, it's just it's been great, and it's been probably the most gratifying. Anything involved with my kids within the running is more gratifying than without them. And I've done a couple international races where I can't take Brittany, and I think it's been some of my most miserable times to an extent, without having I almost feel bad that she's not there, for the fact that the experience is just not as awesome.
Yeah.
Because I can't share it with her.
Yeah. I see how miserable you was in that mountain spine race.
Yeah.
I said you was miserable with that race.
The first year Brittany was able to go. The second year she wasn't, but a little different. I had my dad there driving Matt, the videographer, around. So it had a little bit of family there, even though I wasn't supposed to interact with them. I could see them. But they didn't want me to talk to them, and receive support from them.
Right. Crazy. I'll take it for that. I love it. Just seeing the family involved. What is your world? Is the family is part of your world? And they their world. And so they're embracing it. So that's wonderful.
Your kids are watching you. Whoever's watching this, your kids are watching you, and they're going to pick up habits from you, good or bad.
Yes, definitely. Totally agree. Yes. So I leave the last question. Rachel.
So the way we like to end the show is by getting some boundless motivation and advice, or a tip in a few words from you guys. So I'll go maybe to Ben. What is a couple of words you would have for the listeners?
Man, because I think the whole entire podcast has been about advice and so what have I not said, or what have we both have not touched on? My boundless things is even in my motivational speaking, my platform the topic that I talk about is basically perception. And that's when I talked about that on this is it, once you're able to see what's possible, it just opens up to even more what's possible. Once you realize that, once you break that barrier down, it's the life is limitless. Life is limitless, whether it's your career, whether it's with your relationships and your family, whether it's within running. Life is limitless. And there's so much joy out there.
Yes.
So I will say my tip that we haven't touched on is the power of attitude. Especially during an ultra running, when like people ask me, like, and this is just a good example is, what do you listen to music? And I said, I do listen to music, but not usually during the day. It's only at night. And what do you like to listen to? And I said, I'll just talk about some genres and stuff like that. But I said, what I really like to listen to, and I save it, is stand-up comedy. I'll actually download stand-up comedy onto my phone and like put it on in the middle of the night. So when you're like going through, you already ran all day, and it's amazing that just laughing a little bit and thinking about a funny scenario that this guy is standing up talking, speaking about, all of a sudden I noticed that I'm not as tired. My gait is a little bit stronger. I have more energy. And it's the same way. Have you ever gone into you're like just broken out on course, and then you go into an aid station and see your loved ones and see everybody else, and all of a sudden you're fired up. Like I've gone to where I had a decision that I was going to DNF, and I go into the aid station. The minute I see other racers or people I like and all this stuff, your attitude changes. And the minute that happens, all of a sudden you feel fine. You feel good. You feel like you could keep going. And so my big tip is try to have a positive attitude. Look at your glass is half full and not half empty.
Okay.
Look at be grateful for the things that you do have.
Yeah.
Be positive, talk positive about people, laugh, and so, and do it on a daily basis. Like before leading up to her, do it every day. So that when you're in the race, you can have that power, your mind is shifted into that positive attitude. So that would be my tip that we didn't touch on, would be just the power of attitude.
Oh yeah, power attitude. Yeah. And laugh a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you're around me,
stay positive.
Everybody's laughing because they're just usually laughing at me. I'm pretty much hilarious.
Okay.
What about you, Mike? What advice you got for our listeners?
I want to give two little ones. One for people who are interested in like the 200-mile distance or longer distance.
Yeah.
And that is just don't make rash decisions while you're in between aid stations. Always get to the aid station. As Ben said earlier, like, a 200-mile race, you have a lot of time. So go sit at the aid station for like hours if you need to, take a nap, get some food, stretch, and reevaluate. More likely than not, you're going to bounce back and you can get to the next aid station. So, in the moment when you're suffering, when you're cold, when it's dark, like, don't make any stupid decisions, like get to the aid station and figure it out there. And then also just for runners in general, one of the things I always say is just consistency is greatest. Like, don't feel the need to be putting in huge miles like right when you start, or just like, even if you've been doing it for a while, like don't feel the pressure to like be doing these like crazy long runs or whatever, but just be consistent. So whether that's 20 minutes a day, an hour a day, just like find that consistency, get your body used to it. And obviously like there's injury, so don't like be stupid and run through injury, but if you're just like feeling tired or unmotivated, just be consistent. Like, even if you're running an hour to 90 minutes a day, and one day you wake up and you're feeling pretty unmotivated, don't feel the pressure to go run 90 minutes, but just get out there and do 15 or 20 minutes. Chances are you'll probably end up doing 90, because the hardest part is getting out the door. Just make it a priority to be consistent.
Another, just to something else to on that consistent and everything like that. I would say, let me reiterate the importance of somebody. Let's just see an example of somebody getting into ultra running or just getting into trail running, and they've increased their distance, and now they can participate up to like a 20-mile adventure. It takes some time, but find out what your overall goal is, and have some humility. When I say that is, and this comes from experience, where when you just go out and you're training, I'm trying to talk about training here and your approach to an event. What's important to you? Are you important for your performance and your placement, or you just want to finish? And I strongly suggest get coaching. And the reason why I say this is because if you sit back, I've been in doing this for a few years now, and you watch new people coming in to the sport, especially now with especially with social media, you can kind of watch all their adventures, and you can watch them on Strava and stuff like that, and you're looking at their volume and how they and it's all over the place. And I've watched so many people go into an event completely broken because they joined group runs here and joined group runs here, and they're so afraid of missing out on this epic adventure and this epic adventure, and not sticking to an actual like the science behind actually building your body up to the volume. And it's just like every summer it's the same thing. Every summer you just sit there and watch social media, and they're just out hitting this peak, hitting that peak. They're all over the place. There's no rhyme or reason. They're just fitting it into their thing, but they don't have any set goals of the distance that day and the specified effort and stuff like that. And sometimes that's not as fun at the moment, but it pays off when you do a proper build to what your body, and you're listening to your body and building to that event. Your event is going to be so much more enjoyable than and that's why I said evaluate your goals. Are you trying to perform, or are you trying to just finish and have fun and be around the community? So, whatever your goals are, but to have a plan in place and have just self-control, I guess, self-discipline. That's the word I was looking for.
Okay.
The self-discipline to stick to the plan, and if your buddy calls you and you're supposed to have a rest day, you're supposed to have like a short 6 mile or speed work that day, and they call you up and they go, hey, we're going to go do this crazy route and stuff like that. And you're looking at your schedule and listen to your coach,
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, yeah, thank you for the advice, the tips, and for Mike and Ben. And so if people want direction, want help, want guidance, and want to do, just want to keep up with both of y'all, how could people stay in contact with both of you guys?
I'm the Low Carb Runner on Instagram, and then my website is lowcarb-runner.
Okay.
And then I'm just Ultralight 007 on Instagram, and you can just Ben Light on Facebook.
Yes.
So.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you, fellows. Thank you, Ben and Mike, just for spending time. I know I got a lot of planning to do. Y'all 300, 500 milers, but they could just have some downtime a little bit and just spend the time with the Live Run Balance family. It definitely was a pleasure. Just like I said, also always gratitude, gratitude mode, for just for y'all taking the time to really able to work this out and allow me to just to talk to y'all, to interview y'all, and just it was great.
I appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. And also thank you, H. Ross 619, once again for being my guest co-host, And so any last
Thanks for asking, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yes. Then thank you always.
My last words is, man, I just thank you, Mike. Thank you, Ben, for all the advice that you guys shared, the stories, the inspiration you guys provide. You guys are definitely leaders in the community. So we love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Keep crushing it. We'll keep rooting and cheering you guys on.
Good luck in the Triple Crown, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, my man.
And at Badwater.
Oh.
Pacing.
That's
going to be nasty.
Same
That's
thing,
going to be nasty.
Going to get hot.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's cool. Well, yes, thank you, everyone. That was great. It was great. Good time just chatting. Get some wisdom, get some insight. Just learning a lot. I learned a lot. I'm doing this today, and so thank you, and thank you, Live Run Balance family, for joining me for another episode of Live Run Balance Show. Live a life beyond the boundaries that you set on yourself. Now, again, I think Ben and Mike are perfect example of going beyond the boundaries of the norm. And they definitely they definitely live that life for really going out beyond, being balanced. So thank you. And then till next time, family,